welcome back. My name is Tatiana. I'm a business coach and a mentor, and I'm here to inspire you to get out of your way and go for the things that you want in life. Welcome to another Inspired Chat. This is a series that I will be doing on here every Thursday, and it's an opportunity for us to just get encouraged, get fired up, motivated about all of the things we're trying to do, and occasionally there will be a live inspired chat as well. Today we are talking about burnout. And this is one of those things that over the years of entrepreneurship for sure, but just life, it's inevitable. And I know for me personally, I have dealt with many seasons of burnout just due to, running myself in the ground, trying to do all of these things, and then eventually just getting to a point where I can no longer withstand all of what I have put on my plate. So if this sounds like you, or if you feel like this is about to be you, then keep listening. So first, I wanted to just pull up the definition of burnout because I thought it would just be interesting to see exactly what it is just by the dictionary. And so what I found was a couple of different things. I think it kept thinking I was talking about like electrical stuff, but I did see this really good actually AI overview one. So that's the one I'm going to go with. Burnout is a state of mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. It can manifest in different ways, and experts don't always agree on its definition. And I think that that's true because there are a lot of different ways that it can show up, right? For some of us, it might affect you physically. If you think about how stress can affect the body, it can definitely affect you physically. It can affect you mentally to the point where you shut down and you no longer have any thoughts, or you no longer have any more brain power to figure out what's next. And of course, it can show up emotionally as well, because that can then lead to your mood being completely different and you not really wanting to do certain things that you normally do. Burnout can be a very, very serious thing if you allow it to get to a certain point. And one of the things that I have learned over the years is that there are certain seasons within my business where I tend to just really go. The holiday season being one of the main ones, but also anytime I'm in a launch period as well, that's also another time when it's easy to get burnt out. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about some tips to help you if you find yourself feeling like you are burnt out. First of all, let's just identify what that might look like, right? So maybe you have been for several weeks, months. Hopefully it hasn't been that long, but a decent amount of time to where you have been just going and going. There hasn't really been a lot of breaks. There hasn't been a lot of time for you to potentially do other things outside of maybe this main project you're working on. And you are starting to feel some disinterest possibly. You might be starting to feel like you don't know how to come up with a plan because you just feel stuck. You may be feeling just tired, exhausted, have no excitement or motivation to want to continue doing the thing that you've been doing. All of these things have happened to me in a lot of instances when burnout was on the horizon. And it sucks because, usually when you are in a season of burnout, typically you're working towards something, right? So like you need this thing to happen. You want to hit this deadline. You want to be successful. And that's why the burnout is happening, because you are working really hard, right, to make this happen. And so it's unfortunate when you hit these walls because sometimes your body forces you to slow down. Life circumstances force you to slow down, and it gives you this kind of like moment where you pause and you just start to feel overwhelmed with everything that you still have to do. Or you may have just been running on autopilot for so long and finally you hit this wall and it's like, wow, I'm tired. Either way, if you are feeling like that is you in any of these scenarios, I want to give some tips to help you and just ways that I have tried to combat it as much as possible, but also try to prevent it, because I think it's always better when we can prevent things like this from happening as often as they may happen. It's always better to do it on that side of things and have to be more reactive and then try to kind of repair all of the damage that's been done. So the first question I have to ask you is, what are you focused on? What is the thing that's taking up your mental space right now? What is the project? What is the product? What is the thing that you are trying to do for your business currently that seems like it might be running you into the ground? Are you getting ready to launch something? Is there a hectic season coming up? Is this a time where you have a lot of peak clients that you're working with? I know for me, when I first started business coaching, I had my calendars open, okay? People could sign up at any time And not only, there was actually two things. It was, I was charging a very small price and I was giving a lot of time. And so one thing I want to point out too, which may not even always be directly associated with it, is sometimes burnout can come from you simply giving your time for money and it feeling like, you are just working and working and working, but you don't feel like you are earning what you all are putting in. That may be something to really sit down and look at. Is like, okay, am I charging enough? Are my products priced appropriately? Because you want to make sure that you are charging not only your worth and all of those things, but you want to make it worth your time, right? You want to make time is valuable and it is of the essence. And so you want to make sure that your prices fit the amount of work that you're doing, the amount of energy that you are putting into different things. And sometimes that will help with the burnout too, because you won't have this feeling or this cloud hanging over you of like, wow, I have all this work to do and I'm getting paid for little to no money doing it. And so that's just kind of a little side note that I wanted to mention, to make sure you just take a look at your prices and your process and make sure that you are having some healthy boundaries in place as well that allow for you to set things up. And I'm specifically speaking to my coaches, people that are consultants, people that really do service-based, client-facing work that really gives you kind of like the flexibility to say no to certain things. And that might mean, having certain days where you don't accept calls, having certain hours where you don't communicate with clients. These are all things that you can do to help with burnout, because even though in the moment it just feels like, oh, I'm just sending this email, or oh, it's just one more call, eventually it starts to add up and it becomes way more than just one more. Okay. So that is just a little extra that I wanted to throw in there. So what are you focused on? And are there any things that you can kind of taper the focus off of? I am so big on focusing on one thing. And this is what I always tell people all the time. Even when you are first starting a business, I always say pick one thing to focus on, because how many people, I'm guilty of this, you go into something and instead of just being like, okay, I'm going to just do this one thing, you decide I'm going to do all of the things. Oh, I really want to launch a planner, but you know what? I also want to launch a community and I want to launch my YouTube channel and I want to do this, that, and that. And next thing you know, you have 15 things on your plate and you have not had an opportunity to get good at any of them. And you are trying to, just juggle all of these different things, and you're finding yourself tired. You're finding yourself not able to come up with a clear plan. You're not having a lot of clarity around that. That's typically because you are taking on way too many things to focus on. I tell my daughter all of the time, I'm like, focus on one thing. She wants to eat her lunch, but then she wants to get up and play, and then she wants to be watching something, and I'm like, girl, pick one thing. And that is what I have to tell myself. I have to reel it in and be like, girl, pick one thing. It is so much easier on your mental state. You set yourself up for success as well when you choose to just pick one thing, one focus. And that might still be in specific categories. So you might say, okay, I'm going to pick one platform that I'm going to focus on. I'm going to pick one product that I'm going to get good at. I'm going to focus on one type of customer. That really narrows the focus instead of you saying, okay, I want to be able to post and do well on all the platforms. I'm going to cater to not only this type of customer, but I really want to cater to these people too, and these different age groups and all of this stuff. And then this product, I want to make a product for this person, but I also want to make a product that caters to this person's needs. And it gets to be a lot. It's not to say that you can't do those things, but give yourself some time to add them on. So definitely see what it is that you are focused on. And is there anything you can reel it in on? Is there anything you can take off of your plate? I think that's one of the first things to do, is to just get real with your expectations of yourself. And also, what can you delegate, right? Like, what can you give to someone else, whether that's outsourcing, maybe that might be hiring some help. Maybe that might be trying to scout out a friend or two that can help you with things. That's also something you may want to consider too, is like, how can I get some stuff off of my plate, still keep it going in the background, but not so much me and more of someone else doing it. We talked a little bit about boundaries, and I think this next point is very in line with that, because taking breaks is something that is very much boundary driven. It's very intentional and it's very important. So if you find that you are always working nonstop, especially let's say if you have a 9 to 5 and then you come home, you work on your business, and then on the weekend you work on your business, and there's not a whole lot of time for play. There's not a lot of time for relaxation. And anytime you do sit down to do one of those things, you feel guilty, or you feel like, ooh, I really should be doing this, right? That is you really kind of leading yourself to burnout and not giving yourself an opportunity to take a rest. It is a great idea to schedule rest on your calendar, especially if you are not someone that just naturally will take it. Putting it on your calendar as if it's an appointment for yourself is a really great way to eliminate burnout, because if you have a weekly session with yourself where you rest, where maybe you go on a calming walk, maybe you have some journal time, or maybe you just give yourself a chance to just sit in silence. Maybe you have a prayer time, whatever it may be. We all have different things that we look at as a way for us to unwind. But I think taking intentional breaks is a wonderful way for you to stay fresh, right? And to stay motivated with what you're doing and give yourself that reset button. So even if it's not every week, maybe it's every other week, have an intentional time that has nothing to do with anything but you just simply being. And I think that you will start to see that that is something that is so needed. And the guilt that you will feel, I feel like that may not go anywhere, right? But as long as you know that it's only for a duration of time that you're doing this, it's not indefinite. And it's a great opportunity for you to check in with yourself, to focus on other things you love, and just get back to who you are, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in the entrepreneur life and all of the other roles and things that you play. So definitely make sure you are scheduling some intentional breaks. Another point is to work smarter, not harder. I'm sure you have heard that saying time and time again. And when I'm saying that, I am specifically talking about how can you do more work maybe in the moment because you're already doing something right now, to save yourself some time on the back end, or to save yourself some time within the next week or two. One thing I love to do is batch things as much as possible. So if I know I'm sitting down and I'm, for example, recording this video, I recorded a couple videos today, and it's helpful for me because now I have 3 or 4 videos in my back pocket. So I have kind of already alleviated some of the stress that I'll feel as the time comes up for me to post my videos. Take that same thing and approach it in whatever way works for your business. If you are working on responding to discovery calls for clients and you have a couple of them, batch them and do them all in one sitting. Get that over with. Get it off of your plate. Do things that will make your future self smile and just be like, thank you so much, like you love me, okay? What are the things that if it was you, the version of you next week or next month, that would be like, I am so glad that I did this. I love to batch my emails. There was a season where I was so good with that, and I really want to get back to doing that, of batching my emails for the month ahead. I already knew what topics and the different little tidbits I wanted to talk about within the newsletter, and it made it so much easier when it was time to send out my weekly message that I wanted to send out. These are things that you can start doing and thinking of that can help you, and it will make those intentional breaks a little bit better because you will start to check off some of those little extras that you need to fill in the void, right? You need to fill in that time. You'll be able to get those done when you are batching and when you're doing that work, and it frees up more mental space. So if you have not already, figure out ways that you can start batching your work so that you can get those breaks. But you can also give yourself that relief when you look up and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to film a video, or, oh no, this was supposed to happen. And you're like, oh, I already took care of that. Okay, so another one is to set time aside. And the best thing that I can say for this is if you wake up in the morning, and I'm going to use the example of being a mom because that is my life that I know all too well. And I think it can apply really to anything that we do. But on the days when I wake up before my daughter and I'm very productive, I get things done, I have maybe a little list of what I want to get done within that hour or two that I'm up, and I feel so accomplished, right? I get all of the things done and I'm like, yes, I'm ready to greet the day. Versus days where maybe I wanted to sleep in or I overslept and now I'm waking up and then she wakes up at the same time as me. She wakes up before me, or she wakes up maybe a couple minutes after I do, and now I already feel like I'm behind on the day. I like to set aside time for myself that not only is great, just for like mom life and having some time to kind of breathe and get myself together to start the day, but I like to set time aside for my business. That gives me that relief. Again, it gives me that productive feeling when I know, okay, right now I'm focused on this and I'm good, because I know at 2:00, I'm going to have a block of time that I'm going to be working on my business tasks that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be doing X, Y, Z at that time. If you haven't already tried to do either a block schedule or theming your days, those are the two things that I always suggest when anyone is trying to figure out how to start incorporating their business into their life. I find that this is the most helpful. So depending on which route you like to go, block scheduling is a great one because you can actually have an intention for your day. And once you get an idea of what your typical day looks like, it's really easy for you to see where those blocks of time can fit in for you to fit in a quiet work session or an editing session for videos or a design time, whatever types of things you have for your business. It might be a client call time. You'll be able to set that time aside ahead of time. And then even taking it a step further, you can theme your days or you can theme your times. So if you know every Monday is the day when you like to write, let's say it's your writing day and you're doing all of your blog posts or you're doing your emails. This is the type of thing you can do so that when you have that day come, you are not sitting there like, okay, I have time, but I don't know what to do with it. You'll already know, well, Mondays, this is what I work on. Wednesdays, this is what I work on. These are some great ways to keep yourself from getting burnt out because you have an expectation for what's coming versus you just kind of waking up and you're like, okay, I got 20,000 things to do. Let's just start. Let's just figure it out. It's like, nope. Today's Tuesday, I'm going to be making content. And it makes it a very succinct and easy way for you to turn off all of those other little checklists you might have in your mind, right? And it gets you focused on what is at hand. So setting time aside is very, very important in whatever way works for you. I think anytime you can be more proactive on this and not so much reactive, it's always going to be better. And the last thing I wanted to say at the end of the day is to have grace. We are human, okay? We are not perfect. And there's so many times that we can find ourselves just feeling defeated, feeling like we failed simply because we weren't able to check off all of the boxes in our to-do list, right? I'm not even going to sit here and say that this is not something I struggle with because I definitely do. Take it from me. Take it from someone who had basically a 3-month period of going through first trimester, feeling very much unmotivated, really finding it hard to get a lot of things done just simply because I wasn't feeling well and I just was not feeling like myself at all. And having to give myself the grace of understanding the season that I was currently in and understanding that it has no reflection to do with me as a person. I'm not a failure. And still showing up for myself in a way that I can, I think is what's important. And so if you find that you are burnt out, you need a break, life is crazy, you know, there's so many things that might be happening. It may not even be burnt out of business. It might just be burnt out of situations, right? Things that are happening. Give yourself that time to sit in what's happening. Give yourself the space to process things. Allow yourself to get comfortable with transitions and new things that are happening. And I promise you that when you give yourself that grace, it opens up an opportunity for you on the later part of things to then have that time and that creativity and the energy and the capacity for you to be able to work on the business and work on all of the things that you've been thinking about. But give yourself grace, understand that life happens, and at the end of the day, sometimes no matter if we do all of the things that I mentioned in this video, we just need to understand the season we are in and just take it for what it is. Pray, fast, be still, and know that things are going to get better. Comment down below, what are some of your favorite ways to combat burnout? How do you avoid it? Or if it is creeping up on you, how do you start to stop it from happening? I would love to hear your tips as well. Share them in the comments to encourage someone. And thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one.